Welcome to another video of Bachelor and Master English YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about romantic poem Kubla by British romantic poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge. In our today's discussion, there will be introduction of Kubla Khan, there will be summary and stanza-wise understanding of the text. Finally, there will be critical appreciation. Before I begin my discussion, I would like to request you, if you are new to my channel or if you have been watching the channel and have not subscribed my channel, help me to move ahead by sharing, commenting and liking this video. Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, a Fragment, is a poem written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. It was completed in 1797 and published in 1816. It is one of those three poems that include Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Christabel, which have made Coleridge one of the greatest poets of England. Samuel Taylor Coleridge himself describes the poem as a fragment of a dream after he experienced an influence of him, which he saw when he had fallen asleep after reading a work, Portia's Pilgrims by Samuel Portias, describing Sangdu, the summer capital of Yuan dynasty, founded by the Mongol emperor Kubla Khan. Upon waking, he set about writing lines of poetry that came to him from the dream until he was interrupted by a person from prologue. The poem could not be completed according to its original 200 to 300 line plan, as the interruption caused him to forget the lines. He left it unpublished and kept it for private readings for his friends until 1816, when, at the prompting of Lord Byron, it was published. The poem was composed in a dream, and therefore it contains some magical qualities. It is totally intrusion of thought. Kubla Khan is a brilliant achievement in the field of supernatural poetry. The poem has 54 lines in total, and it is divided into three irregular stanzas: lines 1 to 11 first stanza, lines 12 to 36 second stanza, and lines from 37 to 54 third stanza, which moves loosely between different times and place. Okay, let's go with the summary of the poem. Kubla Khan, the great Mongol king, once ordered magnificent luxury palace to be built in Xanadu on the banks of the sacred river Alp, which flowed through deep immeasurable caverns in the hill and then at last fell into a dark sea. Hence 10 square miles of fertile ground was surrounded by walls and towers. There was a deep romantic chasm which sloped down a green hill across the wood of cedar trees. It was awe-inspiring place. It was as holy and enchanted a place as it was ever visited by a woman who was waiting for a demon lover in the dim light of the waning moon. And from his chasm a mighty fountain gushed forth at short intervals, producing a continuous roaring sound. At every burst of the water, huge fragment rocks were flung here and there, like the hailstones or like the grains spreading when separating from the chaff by a farmer's flail. The sacred river Alp flowed in a zigzag manner for a full 5 miles. Kubla Khan seemed to hear in the tumult of the river ancestral voices foretelling him of the impending war. The shadow of this pleasure dome fell in the middle of the river. A rare skill was employed in making this sunny luxury palace, which had caves of ice. In a dream, the poet once saw an Abyssinian girl, the girl from Ethiopia these days, singing a sweet song in praise of Mount Evora. If it were possible for the poet to revive the melody and music of her song, it would give him so great a pleasure that would feel enraptured and poetically inspired, and with his inspired poetry, he would make a palace of the same time in the air. His imaginative palace would be so vivid that the persons who would listen to his song would see clearly before their eyes. They would regard him a magician and would ask others to be cautious of the flashing eyes and floating air. They would weave a circle around him 3 times and close their eyes with holy dread. They would say that he had been fed on honeydew and the milk of paradise. The meaning is that people would regard him as inspired by God. The poem was claimed to be a dream fragment by the poet Coleridge himself. The poem contains no story, no thought, no moral, no allegory, no symbolism. It is appreciated for its shadowy vision and haunting music. Okay, that's all with the summary of the poem in English. Now let's try to go with Nepali version of this poem. कुब्ला खान ज्यानाडुमा कुब्ला खानले एउटा राजकीय इच्छा महल बनाउने निधो गरे। यो आल्फ नदीको किनारमा थियो। यो पवित्र नदी बग्दै गएर कन्दरा मार्फत अथाह गहिरो उज्यालो नछिर्ने सागरमा मिसिन्थ्यो। त्यहाँ 10 माइलको उर्वरा जमिनलाई धरहरा बीचमा टोवा र अग्ला पर्खालले चौकीलाई घेरियो। भित्र उज्यालो फुलबारीमा मगमग बास्न चल्ने फुल बिरुवाहरू थिए। यहाँको वन पनि पर्वतमाला जतिकै प्राचीन थिए र सदाबहार हरियाली मुनि धेरै ठाउँमा घामका झुल्काले रमाइलो देखिन्थ्यो। तर अफसोच त्यो पहिलो चित्ताकर्षक खाँद कन्दरामा पर्वतका ठेक मुनि हरियो देवदार वन मोहनी लाउने थलो पनि रहेछ। यहाँ कृष्ण पक्षका रातमा मोहनी लाउने एक स्त्री रहेछन् जो आफ्नो पिशाच प्रेमीका लागि बिलौना गर्थिन्। यो थलामा फेरि अविरल विघ्न उकुस थियो। यति उष्ण थियो कि पृथ्वी नै फ्याँ गरेर सास फेरि जस्तो लाग्थ्यो। यस ठाउँबाट एउटा छाँगो छङ 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 खसिरहेको, यसको अड्की हुने बहावले चट्टानका ठुल्ठुला टुक्रा उचिट्टी अनि यताउति पछारिरहेका हुन्थे। यो दृश्य फगटा भएका दाना जस्तो धान बत्ताउँदाखेरि हावामा बत्तिए जस्तो पनि लाग्थ्यो। यो छहरा चट्टानमा घुमाउरो बग्दै पवित्र नदीमा हाम फाल्थ्यो। 5 माइलसम्म बाङ्गोटिङ्गो हुँदै यो पवित्र नदी वन र बेँसीतर्फ हानिन्थ्यो। त्यहाँबाट मान्छेले नाप्न नसक्ने गहिराईतर्फ कल 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 बग्दै शान्त सागरमा यो मिसिन पुग्थ्यो। सागरमा मिसिनु अघिको खैलाबैलामा कुब्लाले पुर्खाको स्वर सुन्यो जसमा युद्धको भविष्यवाणी थियो। इच्छा महलको छाया सागर तरङ्गमा छचल्किरहेको थियो। छहरा र कन्दरा हुँदै बगेको ध्वनि स्पष्ट सुन्न सकिन्थ्यो। यो अचम्म र अनौठो योजनाको महल थियो जहाँ मास्तिरबाट घाम र तलतिरबाट हिउँका गुफाको मिश्रण थियो। एक पटक सपनामा मैले कविले एउटी कुमारीलाई देखेँ। त्यो जेठ जुन रेट्ने बाजा बजाइरहेकी थिइन्। त्यो उनको बाजालाई डल्सिमर भन्छ। त्यो कुमारी एबिसिनियाकी अहिलेको इथियोपियाकी थिइन् र उनले माउन्ट एबोराको धुन बजाइरहेकी थिइन्। मैले तीव्र इच्छा गरेँ म आफू पनि त्यो सङ्गीत त्यहाँ पुनर्जीवित गराउन सकौँ अनि त्यो धुनका लयमा म आफ्नो इच्छा महलमा हावामा निर्माण गर्नेछु जहाँ माथिबाट पारिलो घाम र तलबाट हिउँको ठन्डी दुवैको प्रभाव रहनेछ। मेरो महलका घर बारेमा सुन्नेले नहेरी छाड्नै छैन। हेर्ने जतिले एकैसाथ स्वर झिक्थे, होस गर त्यो महल हेर्नेका आँखा हेर, कपाल हेर, उसका वरिपरि लागो पागो विरुद्ध 3 फन्काले घेरिदियो र आफ्नो आँखा त्यो पवित्र भएले चिम्म गर नत्र लट्ठ परौला। किनभने उसले महको शीत खाएको छ र स्वर्गको दूध पिएको छ। यस्तो एउटा पूर्ण काल्पनिक, पूर्ण एउटा चाहिँ सपनामा त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ महल सिर्जना गरेर अनि त्यो कुबला खाँको दरबार र उनले बनाउन लगाएको चाहिँ त्यो जुन खालको संरचना यति प्रकारको चाहिँ एउटा परिकल्पना गरेर त्यस्तो बनाए। त्यो परिकल्पना अङ्ग्रेजी साहित्यमै विशिष्ट कृतिको रूपमा यहाँ चिनिन्छ। अब यस्तो खालको चाहिँ अब रोमान्टिक पोएट्री अथवा स्वच्छन्दतावादी कविता धारमा विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ र सैमुअल टेलर कलरिजले ठुलो योगदान गरे। कलरिजका 3वटा चर्चित कविता राइम अफ द एन्सियन्ट म्यारिनर, क्रिस्टाबेल र यो कुबला खाँ, यी 3टा चर्चित काव्यहरू हुन्। त्यसमा चाहिँ कलरिजको यो कुबला खाँ संसारका अधिकांश विद्यालयहरूमा पनि यसको चाहिँ पढाइ हुन्छ। कस्तो प्रकारको चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ स्वप्निल तत्त्वले एउटा त्यो खालको चाहिँ रचना गर्नलाई चाहिँ कविलाई उत्प्रेरित गरेको। कविसँग कस्तो खालको चाहिँ एउटा त्यस्तो क्षमता रह्यो, एउटा चाहिँ त्यस्तो खालको परिकल्पना गर्न सक्ने, त्यस्तो खालको घर अझ हावामा महल ठडाउन सक्ने। कुबला खाँले त त्यसरी बनाउन लगाए, तर उनले त हावामा त्यो चाहिँ महल बनाउँछु र अनि त्यहाँबाट नि गर्न सक्छु, त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ चमत्कार गर्न सक्छु भन्ने पनि सोचे। यो कविता पुरै अब कविले भनेअनुसार 200 या 300 हरफको चाहिँ एउटा कविता भएको भए यो अझ उत्कृष्ट कविताको रूपमा अङ्ग्रेजी साहित्यमा चर्चित हुन्थ्यो। हुनु त यो 54 हरफको जति बाँकी छ, यसमा पनि यो पुरा छ। यसमा अब त्यस्तो चाहिँ छन्दको बन्ध चाहिँ छैन यहाँ। अब कोहीले यसलाई चाहिँ 2टा अनुच्छेद अथवा 2टा श्लोकको रूपमा लिएका छन्, कसैले चाहिँ यसलाई 3वटा श्लोकको रूपमा लिएका छन्। तर त्यहाँ एउटा बिचमा यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा श्लोक छुट्याउने भन्ने कुरा कुनै एउटा त्यस्तो मुख्य तत्त्व त छैन। तै पनि एउटा समालोचकहरूले त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ चर्चा गरेको र त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ व्याख्या गरिदिएको हुनाले, त्यस्तै खालको त्यही अनुसार चाहिँ विश्लेषण गरेको हुनाले यो यसरी नै जान सक्छ। जे होस्, कुबला खाँ अङ्ग्रेजी साहित्यको एउटा चर्चित कृति हो र रोमान्टिक अथवा चाहिँ स्वच्छन्दतावादी कविता धाराको एउटा सशक्त इतिहास हो, एउटा चाहिँ एउटा स्तम्भ, त्यो कविता धाराको एउटा बलियो स्तम्भ हो। Okay, that's all with the discussion of Kubla Khan in Nepali. Now, stanza-wise understanding, and as I already mentioned, there could be 3 stanza or to be 2 stanza, but I have taken this from Wikipedia as a source, and I have done that. The poem of Coleridge gives us a description of the glory associated with Kubla Khan, supposed to be the most famous Asiatic sovereign, the founder of the Mongol dynasty in China. The poem begins with a stanza telling us that Kubla Khan ordered to build a palace for himself in Xanadu, just where the river Alp went underground. For this palace, 10 miles of fertile territory was surrounded with walls and towers. In this palace, trees started flowering and there was vegetation all around. After describing the background in which Kubla Khan ordered his palace to be built in Xanadu, Coleridge in the second stanza presents a metaphysical picture in which the protagonist hears ancestral voices prophesying that war will break out soon. The whole palace is described as savage, and the entire atmosphere becomes full of dread and confusion. This picture is full of extraordinary realizations, and the overall confusion is effectively recreated by the poet with his romantic phrases of a raining moon and a woman wailing for her demon lover. In the third stanza, the poet describes how the shadow of this proposed palace of pleasure starts floating on the waves of the atmosphere, The poet seems to listen to the lady in a vision, singing of Mount Abora in Abyssinia, now known as Ethiopia. This lady is Abyssinian, and her song is again something metaphysical, a spiritual realization. The last stanza of the poem takes us to the beauty of this song of the Abyssinian maid, reminding us of Wordsworth's reaction to the song of the solitary reaper. Coleridge here says that if he could bring back within him the symphony and the song of that maid, he would get indeed such a deep pleasure that he would build this pleasure dome that Kubla Khan wanted to construct. He could become a person who has fed on the dew of honey and has drunk the milk of paradise. In short, the Abyssinian maid is so powerful that it can give eternal happiness to people and make them do good things. It will perhaps be relevant to note that here Kubla Khan is supposed to be the recreation of a dream that Coleridge saw when he had fallen asleep reading perchance his pilgrims. This is why it starts with the proposed palace of Kubla Khan in Xanadu, and it ends with a personal reaction of the poet to such a palace. The poem is a unique example of the romantic imagination, and the poet's subjective reaction to the whole scene is of primary importance here. The irregular meter of the poem further contributes to the dreamlike qualities of the poem, for in a dream things move quite irregularly. Okay, that discussing Coleridge Kubla Khan in one video is not a possible task, but I have attempted to discuss it. We shall have further discussion in other videos, but I am sure you got the points with my today's discussion. If you have any queries, you can put your ideas in my comment box, and I would like to request you again, if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it, and if you think this video is worth watching, please recommend your friends by sharing and commenting it. Thank you very much.